everyone's having conversations because the playbooks we all worked off of 10 years ago, they're not really working as much anymore. And there are amazing ways to simplify our work and for us to execute smarter. But we only will do that if we feel confident to learn from each other and to grow.
Oh yes, this is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. Today's show is sponsored by Ringmaster, on a mission to launch B2B podcasts that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth. Ringmasterlive.com. Bam. All right, here we go. All right, the excitement is building. It's almost the 4th of July. A little fireworks are ready to get cranking here on this podcast because we have an amazing guest. I can't wait to introduce you to her today and to launch these brilliant marketing fireworks and learn from her. Deep experience. If you look at the history on LinkedIn, you'll just see climbing up from just being that marketing assistant, that marketing coordinator, all the way up to being an absolute marketing leader and thought leader, award-winning executive, visionary strategist, and very much a technology minded executive, but also someone who understands that people are the ones that are going to be clicking the clicks and balancing the two out. So we're going to dive into some of that today. Webby Award winning finalist, the Silver W3 Award, all sorts of awards, just like raining awards all around her. Folio Magazine's top women in media, Marketo's Fearless 50, what is up? Director of Marketing, Technology, and Operations at Goodwin, Danielle Balestra. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Man, you are busy. you do things. You're like,
I love to be challenged. That's a big thing for me. I want to not be bored. I want to learn new things, and that's why I love our space.
100%. It's accelerating, so I'm excited. And let me pass you this thing. It's heavy, but I know you're absolutely a beast. Here we go. Ugh. Okay, go ahead. Grab Thor's hammer. You got it?
Got it. Yep.
Okay. All right. Danielle, take Thor's hammer and smash for me some kind of marketing myth, a bogus strategy, misconception. Set the record straight once and for all.
All right. So marketing ops training, they're just button pushers and system setups. Smash that. Marketing ops development is so needed at this time. We're in such a weird employment space with needing to have our people level up without having enough resourcing for them to level up. I think it's very important that some folks that have been doing ops did it as a one-person show and didn't have somebody they were shadowing that knew those systems, knew how to do the work, knew how to do the soft skills. It's just, there's so much opportunity for these folks. And unfortunately, what we learned 10 years ago when this all started to become a thing has changed so rapidly in the last few years, even months. Looking at what AI is introducing, looking at what it's introducing within our platforms and how we can pull agents to talk to agents to execute certain campaigns or to build out a journey for us or to build out scoring models for us. It's no longer the more antiquated ways of setting weights on certain actions or other pieces of sort of intelligence that we would be put into those nurture campaigns. So it's a very interesting time, and leveling up our staff and making sure we ourselves understand what they are trying to do is so critical at this time.
So critical. And to your point, the idea of, well, if you're a wizard 10 years ago, that's awesome. Now you're a noob, right? Like if you didn't stay on the wave and if you didn't continually learn, I think you and I were even chatting before we hit record, we love to learn, right? And if you don't keep doing that, then it doesn't matter what it was like 10 years ago, Marketo or anybody, right? Like
Exactly.
You got to stay up with it. And so leveling up the team becomes that much more important. You mentioned a really good point too about that one person's ops show. And when you have that small, no team, right? Team of one, man, there's not a lot of people to bounce things off of.
I know, and it's why a community is so important.
Yeah.
I have followed some of the Slack channels, the Slack marketing ops communities. I do find them personally a little overwhelming. Again, back in the day when the big guys, the big ops software were holding their own conferences, it was great because you'd come in and everyone was excited about the software. Everyone wanted people to learn how to do the cool things that they are doing. And you end up getting this amazing community. So I think people who were in that space 10 years ago might actually have an amazing network. I always laugh because I have like probably 200 people I could call from my Marketo past who I never actually worked with ever. But they all were these amazing power users and that were really excited to help solve problems. But now we're in this day and age and, it's multiple systems out there. If you're going to an Adobe or Salesforce, you got all the pieces. It's not just that one marketing automation platform. I believe HubSpot's the only one that still really does their inbound for HubSpot. But it's just challenging to find and to meet people. Post-COVID's also challenging. There used to be a lot of user group meetings in regionalized areas. There was a lot of just I want to call it non-denominational, but like non-specific MarTech meetups. Um, and I think the additional challenge is if you're more introverted, you're going to be a little bit more nervous to put yourself out there, to ask the questions. I laughed because I also think generationally, us more senior folks came through with people who discouraged openness and questions and curiosity where
Mm.
it's so critical. I can recall one of my first internships ever, and I had a question for my supervisor, and I asked her, and she turned and looked at me and said, "Do you not understand? Are you dumb?"
Wait, she said, "Are you dumb?" She actually
Yeah,
said that?
yeah, and
Holy crap.
so to have that experience, I aligned that very much to the movie Devil Wears Prada. I really thought,
Great movie.
wow, this is really out there. There are really leaders that don't take the time to articulate, to understand there might not be enough clarity or
Yeah.
direction about the tasks that they're asking of the individual. So, with those people who are afraid to ask the questions, it's going to be hard to approach a community. And I really encourage those to try. You will be so welcomely surprised at how many people want to help. There's more people out that want to help than want to keep things the way they are. And in this space, as we just said, everything's changing. Everyone's interested in learning from each other. This AI buzz is really, I think, getting a lot of us excited and jazzed. We are all asking each other, what are you thinking? What are you seeing? How are the platforms adjusting? What is Salesforce doing? What is HubSpot doing? What is Adobe doing? Everyone's having conversations because the playbooks we all worked off of 10 years ago, they're not really working as much anymore. And there are amazing ways to simplify our work and for us to execute smarter. But we only will do that if we feel confident to learn from each other and to grow.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned when you're introverted, it's like, yeah, and the more focused on tech, sometimes the more introverted we get, and then you find yourself being like, "How do I connect?" And you would think that Slack would be a no-brainer, but I've had that same experience too, where some giant Slack board, it can be bored. What am I dating myself? Slack workspace doesn't, let's be honest, workspace
Channel, it's a
doesn't make
channel,
me.
I believe.
Well, but the channels are the individual things.
Oh, yeah.
So the whole thing, anyways, I digress. But like, it just, it sort of lacks some of that personal connection too for me. So I feel like we definitely are trying to find each other. And I know like marketingops.com and there's different places, and it's good to connect with people in the end.
It really is. And to find those regional events are usually a great starting point to get to
Yeah.
those things like Mopsapalooza is amazing. It's so fun when you
Yeah.
sit there And I went to the first one, and Scott Brinker made some very funny marketing technology jokes, and afterwards I went up to him, I'm like, "Only this audience would find everything you said to be as hilarious as we found it. Because if you said that to a whole bunch of creatives or a whole bunch of copywriters, they'd look at you like, 'What's wrong with you?'" So, we
Right.
have a really funny, tight-knit community, and we really wanna help each other, so I think that's a very important piece. I also wanna mention, though, the technical piece. So I do think sometimes folks get very focused in the nuts and bolts of our systems, and what we really have a hard time doing, especially if you're on that one-person team, is to start translating that outside the technology, because we most likely are reporting into VPs of marketing, or you're reporting into some type of maybe it's a general operations that has multiple divisions like brand operations or CROs. So those people are not going to be able to talk to you about a journey and some data quality issues, or why the logic doesn't make sense and how, like, it's conflicting or the cadences don't line up. So all of a sudden, here we are, and we might not even be aware of how much jargon we're using while we're talking. We're using a lot of jargon. So it's good to also get some colleagues that are outside the space to try and explain and help you, not really water down, but to make it more understandable for people who don't speak our language. I've seen a lot of young people try and, address concerns they see and get very frustrated very fast because their managers just don't understand it. And one of the things I like to always remind folks is bring curiosity. We assume the people that manage us know how everything works that we manage, which is not always the case. So we can't assume they know how it works. So we have to address it like we are addressing individuals who've never experienced it before. So think about how you might tell it to your parents. Your parents most likely didn't work in marketing operations. It didn't exist, probably.
Can you imagine?
I always laugh because
Dad.
I love when, like, I used to work with people that like, all we had was a typewriter. I'm like, I can't imagine not having a computer on my desk. Like, I
Damn.
can't imagine an office with no computer. Just so foreign to me. But that did exist, and some people don't, like, that's what their experience was. So we have to bring curiosity, and we have to try and simplify and be patient and figure out what is resonating and what's not. So it's as we test out nurtures, as we test out subject lines, as we test things, we should also be testing how our presentations, our conversations are working, and are they resonating? And it's okay. Like, you can also ask, like, does that make sense? I often do that. I'll try and get a clarifying moment just to make sure my manager understands what the concerns are. And if they usually will say yes or no. And if they say no, then I'll think about analogies that might make more sense for them that we could equate to what the concern is that we're seeing.
What a great idea. What kind of different analogy can I use? And then the idea of asking, does that make sense? Um, where did this first click for you? Because the idea of marketing ourselves and marketing the efforts we're undertaking. That's what that is, right? Just communicating internally is so powerful.
It comes when you're higher up and you're in a larger organization. When I moved to Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, it was an exciting time because I just love that organization. They're just an amazing place to work. And it's a place where we were just introducing cloud technology. If you think about it, do you really want your health information, especially at a cancer hospital, to be hacked into? No. So most of our servers were on-prem. We were just starting to introduce Salesforce and Salesforce Marketing Cloud into the space, and sharing with folks how we can do this, like how we can improve the patient experience, the referral doctor experience. And it required a lot of simplification, and it required to calm fears, but it also required confidence in myself and the team. So a big thing most folks don't realize is they might not be supporting you because they don't understand what you do. So
Yeah.
by becoming that self-advocate, you have to start promoting yourself, promoting what you're doing, the impact. If you have OKRs, make sure they are very clear, very direct. Why, when you did this, it showed an improvement 3 months later. So it's an important piece, especially if you want growth in a company. If you want to get support, you need to tell your stories and you need to grow. I mean, a lot of the community complains. I've seen so many LinkedIn posts that are just so negative. But unfortunately, just being upset is not going to resolve it. You got to try and figure it out, same way as we're trying to figure out AI. Like, how could we fix this? There's some things obviously a little broken, and where could we make adjustments?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's very agile, right? It's not that waterfall, let me figure this out a year from now when everything's gone to hell. It's like staying recent.
Absolutely. Especially at the speed that everything's changing. Some of these vendors are making major adjustments to the tools that we're using. And we need to be very agile about how we communicate. If something that we have running for 4 or 5 years no longer functions because that functionality has been removed from the tool, or let's say we've been relying on this tool and it was sold to somebody else and they've they changed the whole product. So there's a lot when you are renting your software that you need to articulate what happened over the course of that lifetime of that subscription.
Right. I mean, you need to keep track. I mean, so many times I've seen people just forget the knowledge and almost like reattack the same problem, but because the information wasn't passed along.
Oh, documentation. I used to love going in and looking at people's Marketo instances. It was like a history book. You could see how the different campaigns were being built by different managers, what their big focus was on versus others, and no documentation. There's always
Right.
next to no documentation. One of the most important things anyone can do is also really understand their business and how their business is evolving over time. So if you are moving from company to company, you're spending a year in each place, it's not giving you enough time to really understand what they're trying to accomplish. You might be cleaning up or making more of a mess along the way. I'm not very sure. But if you are somewhere and you are invested in trying to develop your skills, it's important to get to understand the business and then translate that back. Unfortunately, that's not going to be available in a lot of documentation, but your builds are going to be there and you can look to the builds and see if it aligns with what the company's trying to do.
You know, you mentioned the idea of leveling up a team. How do you approach that? Right? Because I think everyone wants to level, like, it's even a core value for my company, like level up, like constant learning, challenge. But how do you approach that?
I believe there's going to need to be a couple steps a manager has to do. One is to self-assess. So they need to, as a leader, really understand, what do I understand about the space and the person I'm managing and what do I not? And they themselves have to get some basic knowledge of what's happening. Because I've heard before, my manager doesn't understand. They put no effort into understanding what I'm doing. I think it is also on the manager to take that time to learn a little bit about the space and to understand the complications of managing this role. Now, for the junior people, it is about alignment with that direction and make sure they are getting direction. I think that those junior people need to make sure they are speaking to multiple people, not just their team or their manager. They need to be talking to the sales team. If they have SDRs, those folks, they need to talk to the CSMs. If there are CSMs in their organization, they need to be talking to finance. They need to understand the business and understand what they're impacting. I do think they need to do some assessments about like what their personality style is, their communication style. I think the big challenge though is time. So investing in yourself does take time. You also have to have the drive to take that time. As a leader, you should be suggesting materials for them to read. You should be suggesting conferences for them to attend. You should suggest Udacity things to watch, or, even LinkedIn learnings to participate in. There's so much you could do to better yourself, but it's about time and what's the priority. And a lot of people are feeling that pressure to just focus on keeping the organization profitable and keeping their pipelines moving forward.
Right.
Everyone really should be setting maybe 25% of their time aside to make sure they continue to level up. And that could be as simple as reading like a book every quarter or making sure to attend a conference at least once every 2 years, attend a few webinars when they have space. It's amazing how you could fill that time and to get that knowledge and education. Could even be just like a short, small little networking group. Could be former people you went to college with that you just want to catch up with, and they could tell you but focus the conversation. What are you doing? What's been challenging at your job? Just to start learning. I think another important thing is learning the right questions. And I think actually ChatGPT could also help you with what's good networking questions. How could I ask more probing questions to understand a business? Wildly, I think AI could actually help us even answer those questions.
It can, right? It's great. Even asking us to ask the questions. Um, right? Like, what questions should I be asking right now? And I'm not.
It's wild. Like, I love using, the chatbots. It helps me clean up my copy. It's helping me,
Yep.
look at things from different scenarios. I'm asking it, like, does this email have the right, tone or context? How can I adjust it? So it's almost like a personal trainer that you get to keep around and ask the questions you need to ask. My team has been using, the AI tools to learn how to run micro macros in Excel, how
Oh,
to
yeah.
build, some amazing stuff, that is just I can't believe how fast they leveled up by using the chatbots. It's amazing.
Do you formalize that into a program, or do you sort of encourage along the way, or what are the sort of building blocks for making that? Because I could see introducing it, but then are people gonna do it?
So for me, we just introduced a book club in our
Nice.
office. Our first book was The Content Shift. Our second one is, I believe, AI: How to Power Strategy and Brand. I think that's the title. I might be wrong.
Okay.
But we're doing them once a quarter. We are also setting up for a promptathon to happen in December. So we're planning out what that would look like, how to configure it, how we're going to have judges. We'll even have prizes. It's going to be a really fun time. So that is an important piece. I think as a leader, you also have to spend time thinking about people development. That is really our jobs, right? As managers, is to do people development. I don't think enough of us are putting enough energy and effort into that. And to ask also, you might observe things that your team needs to level up on, but you might also ask the team, like, what are they interested in learning or growing in? They often will come with, I want to attend this event, or I'd like to, take this webinar or this certification. It's really our job to either confirm that that's the right direction for them and get the budget. Usually HR has some professional development money. Most companies do at this point because it's a great added benefit and it's a value added for both the company and the employee. So making sure that there's some type of learning and development plan for certain individuals. And when those opportunities come to you or they bring them to you, you should encourage them.
Mhm. I encouragement, right? Like, I think about that a lot. I think that's a really good point about giving them that positive reinforcement. I will say, I wonder your take on this. I did a book club too, and I actually did this thing because I found an app that allowed it, and you could pay people per book. You could put little bounties on, "This book is, like, $20," and and it had the opposite effect. People literally stopped reading because they were gonna get paid to read these books, and it, like, blew my mind.
Well, I found the first session that we did amazing. I actually ran the questions, and I have a hard
You
time
did.
with silence, so that was a learning experience for me to try and embrace quiet. But during the sessions, some very interesting things came up in the conversation about how we could operate better or tools that would be greatly used, and it was across the full marketing team. So it was very cool to have a common starting point with a book that we all read and to discuss the challenges of implementing something that the book could offer and how we collectively could address that. So it brought, again, a community, even if it was one person in one team and another person in another team, like maybe the teams are not that deep, but now they are feeling comfortable to have a conversation,
Yeah.
comfortable to share their thoughts. And it hopefully is giving them encouragement to get engaged for the next one. So I think it's important just to, again, as a leader, to have that interest in also helping. I know as leaders, we're getting a lot of pressure from above us as well, but it's a collective. I do think of everything as a team sport. So we have to make sure, even if we're feeling the pressure, we should be sort of the wall between us and our employees, and that we should try and encourage them to keep getting better, because what's going to happen is the team performs better, which means we actually perform better altogether. So it's all working together towards us. Unfortunately, if you're the one person team, that's going to be challenging. You're gonna hopefully just keep leveling up and showing improvement along the way. But if there is more than one of you in the team, and you have a report, a leader who, like, they gotta just show like how huge and impactful everything that they're doing. So that's, I think, a really important piece, because we
Right.
as leaders need to have a little bit of that empathy back to our employees.
Yeah, there's like this real caring. I like perceive that from you that you really do care about your team and you want them to succeed.
Absolutely. I've seen so many people I've worked with before go on to such great things, which is so amazing. I have been at different companies, so I have had different teams under me, and a lot of them I still talk to today, and it's just amazing to hear where they ended up. So
Yeah.
again, it's we all collectively do better. My job is to give direction. So if I'm giving great direction and everyone's executing well on that direction, we all win. We all accomplish together what we were set out to do. And I think that's where it's the most impactful and the most rewarding experience when you're working and you really all together are achieving things.
Man, my next question really is like, who are you? Who are you? Like, how do you know these things? How do you have all this experience? Take me back in time. Little Danielle days. Did you know you're gonna be a marketing leader, giving direction, leading teams, helping level them up? Like, what was it like?
I guess somebody saw something in me from a long time ago, because I always was in leadership programs, always. As soon as I started college, they put me in the presidential leadership program. In high school, I was on the leadership boards. I didn't notice it. It's funny, my daughter has the natural ability, and I never noticed it the way she has it, which I'm like, wow, if you have more than me, I can't wait to see what you are. But just the excitement, the persuasion, learning like how to help each other. I played softball. I love playing softball. That was like such a big pivotal piece. And you can't be it. Like, it's a team sport. Everyone has to participate. Everyone has to do their part. It's not like, oh, I hit everything and I do nothing on the field. Like, you have to
Right.
actually all work together. And it's exciting when you bond and everyone's having fun and going out for ice cream afterwards. It's the award of winning the game and then also that friendship behind it. It just feels good. So to me, I'd rather just be part of the group and to win as the group. And
Yeah.
I always like solving problems. So it really was about, how can I help solve some problems? And how can I have people along the way to help me? A long time, I was the one person show, and it was interesting. And I really, really enjoyed moving to larger companies, because now I get to work with 30 to 40 people about a
Yeah.
problem, and they're not in my team, but we're talking together to say, "Oh, you see this too? How would you solve that? This is what I'm seeing. This is my concern." So it's fun to have like those conversations together and be like, "All right, cool. We all agree we should address this. Who wants to take lead? Who wants to support? What could we do to keep moving this forward?"
Man, did you ever bounce into like bad examples of this?
Constantly. There's constantly roadblocks, but
Yeah.
it's, I think it's unfortunately a lot of sociology, psychology, right?
Yeah. Right. Right.
And the best thing you can do and the best thing I've learned I can do is just continue to be curious.
Yeah. 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 Totally.
I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know what's happening to them today. I have no idea. I can't take it personally that this is not working according to the way I thought it was going to be. So I've actually gotten through a lot of coaching. I've been very fortunate to have support to get coaching. And it is the one thing I wish I learned probably 20 years ago was to, again, remain curious and to remain open that it might not go your way. And it's okay to ask why, what's happening? How are you receiving this information? Please walk me through, your thought there a little bit deeper, just to get a better understanding of why there's not alignment or why there is, that weird pushback. And sometimes you're going to find it's because of something that's not going to be changeable. Sometimes it could just be a situational one time thing. And then you make your decisions based on how to proceed from that.
Are there things that take you out of that curious zone? Have you bumped into any like curious killers?
I find myself that it's speed. The speed of getting things done takes you away from the curious. So I love like every movie tells you to just stop and breathe, but it's true. Like just stop, step away, stop your brain. Know that it's not, you might have to sometimes sit with an emotion. I have to sit with an emotion. I have to not react, take a time, take a moment, come back to it. And that works for me. Sometimes it might take longer than like an hour, but like, you
Yeah.
do need to like stop and rethink. There is so much happening in our world right now, and there's so many triggers for so many people that we really don't know what's going on. What's causing some, misalignment or anything along those lines. So to take a moment, or if you need a personal day just to like mentally clear yourself, like that's okay. I mean, think back to during the pandemic. I mean, you're stuck in your house for almost 2 straight years for some of
Oh
us.
my
It was
gosh, I know.
so bad, and that's actually when I started being like, "I need a mental health day. I'm gonna be off today." I can't. It was so mentally draining the
Yeah.
whole time, so I think it should be okay for us to take a mental health day. It is something we should be focused on and consider, and when we are very frustrated with things, that's not constructive for anybody.
Well, why do you suppose? I guess it is that just that constant battle between going quick, executing, and then taking a step back and even just thinking about it for a second, which maybe where strategy comes from too. But like there's that constant tug of war.
It's hard, and time management is such an important thing. It's hard to learn, it's hard to share with other people. Trying to guide my team through, like, make sure you're setting this type of time aside. Are you keeping track of these projects? It's hard. There's some people that working nights and weekends makes better sense to them than working 9 to 5 during the week. So as, the person in charge of them, that's not what we have as a policy. So, when somebody's like, I'm working nights and weekends, I'm constantly like, why are you working nights and weekends? You shouldn't be working nights and weekends. Talk to me about how we could stop that from happening. So the time management is a very interesting thing. I think it's also consciousness of how much we're asking of the team or of ourselves. So what really has to get done, what is nice to approach, and what is not important. There's things that, ops people get crazy about. They're like, "Oh, we gotta clean up these folders, and we gotta clean up this, these campaigns, or we gotta address this piece." Is that really a top priority for you, especially if you have 4 or 5 other huge projects and asks coming at you? plus you want to develop, plus you want to raise, plus you want the things. Like, really stop, think, what is going to have the better impact for me, like my person, as well as the output of my success.
Man. Wow. Well, I have a bit of a hypothetical question for you next.
Okay.
Okay. See, I may or may not have a time machine up here in New Hampshire. And I do. Come on visit next time you're in Boston.
Definitely.
Um, we use the time machine, but it's a special kind of time machine where you get a chance to go back in time and meet yourself 4 days after that marketing degree, right? You just graduated, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. You get to go visit yourself and have a conversation. So much wisdom was on this podcast today, but if you had a chance to tell yourself one thing, what would it be?
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Mm, why is that?
It's all going to work out because it all did. And it's very interesting because each experience sort of led itself to another. Going into a place like Reputation Institute was very interesting because it's about corporate communications and the different segmentations of who impacts the company's reputation. So looking at that really prepared me for stakeholdership and creating those personas. And did I realize that at the time? No. But once I got further into marketing operations, I'm like, I'm so glad I had that experience. And it was a great place to work at. It was a small, young company at the time. But what I got exposed to in the services we provided actually helped me become a stronger marketing automation and operations professional. So each part of my journey led to something else that I built on. And again, my journey's not done. So very excited to continue and see where else I'm going to learn and grow from. But it really is, don't be so hard on yourself. It will all work out.
That's absolutely fantastic, man. And I guess the follow on to that is, do you think you would listen to yourself if you gave yourself that advice?
Absolutely not. I was very thick-headed younger. It took a lot of maturity to be more open and be more accepting. It's hard to take feedback. I think that's another thing is like people think of it as a very personal thing. I still like get all nervous when I hear I have some feedback. I laugh though because I tell my colleagues, I'm like, for some reason I must have a sign like, give me feedback because I will get off the cuff comments often, and I'm like, oh, okay. And a lot of it I take and I think about how to address it and make adjustments. But sometimes it comes not at a review cycle, and sometimes it comes not from my superiors. It could be a peer, it could be a direct report. Um, I'm glad that they feel that confident to just share this information with me. But
Yeah.
um,
Dang. Sign saying, yes, bring, it's a good, I mean, it's a good thing if people give me, but maybe just, you do like a, um, a giant pie tin full of whipped cream to the next person that gives you feedback. You just
yeah,
walk around with that thing, and someone's like, "Oh, by the way, that's the wrong combination." Blah, blah, just like right in their face.
no, it's okay. Everyone needs to feel comfortable to give feedback, and everyone
Yeah,
needs to feel comfortable receiving the feedback. So I try and encourage that and to also be open that if it's too jarring, that the giver of the feedback can know that that was sort of a disruptive approach to sharing that information.
yeah, no, but usually people are sharing that because they care,
Absolutely. Yeah,
and I know if I'm in a situation with someone and I ever get to the point where I'm not giving feedback, that's when you should be worried because that means you're either uncoachable or so it's all about receiving feedback and people caring enough to give it. So, hey, and where can people reach out to you if they wanna connect?
definitely through LinkedIn. This would be the best place to find me. I also have a website that's listed on LinkedIn, so you can find my profile there with I believe my email address is there. If not, I should be posting it there.
Okay, fantastic. Everyone can go head over there, click on the links in the show notes to find you. Be very easy to click on that and get on over there. Man, as I'm looking through our notes, Danielle, just thank you so much for coming on here. The conversation about leveling up the staff, the AI buzz, the bringing the curiosity, even just the simple questions like, does that make sense? And just like a litmus check on, is the internal team on the same page as everyone else to get that program to actually be executed and accomplished? So many good, powerful lessons here. Thank you for coming on here.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, yeah. And for those listening, if you learned something, and I freaking know you did because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, front and back, running out of space, had to go back, right in the margins, then share this with someone. One person, 2 people, 3, 9,000 is cool, but even one person, like, who needs to hear this? Someone on your team, or maybe another leader on your team, maybe yourself. Maybe you should implement a program, make your own level up program, and think about what kind of book you might want to have your team read, and just get your team leveled up as a result of this podcast and listening to Danielle. With that, thank you again so much for coming on here.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. It's been a crazy cool episode of the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will see you all next time.